Good afternoon and welcome to Big Conversations. Today, our topic is Open the Playing Field, AI, Access, and Open Source Futures. It is my pleasure and honor to welcome today Ms. Maxine Williams, hailing from Trinidad and Tobago. But Maxine is the VP, Head of Accessibility and Engagement at Meta. And she will be in conversation with Senator the Honorable Jonathan Reed. Today, in this fireside chat, Maxine Williams explores how artificial intelligence, open source models, and inclusive design create opportunities for everyone. Enjoy the conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. She gave you a great open title, but she didn't say that you were my friend, you know what I mean? So let's start with that. And let's start a little bit friendly. Okay. Heavy title. Lots of work, lots of responsibility, but I really wanted to understand you, the person, right? Okay. So I told someone I was doing this chat, they said, that's Maxine that used to be on Westwood Park?
Yes.
And I said, I think so, and I Googled it quick, all right? So let's talk about origins. How do you move from that start in Trinidad, acting, and then heading up now the role that you have at Meta?
I think it actually makes sense. You know, in Trinidad, we're very creative, dynamic. I think the diversity of the population is the fuel for that. And so we have all kinds of skills. You can't find us in any place. And so I went from being a lawyer, but also a human rights activist, an actress, a television host, a soap opera star, to working on things. All jokes aside, everything that I've done has been something that, to me, has been in service of bringing us closer together,
right?
In service of justice, fairness, trying to build a better society.
Right.
Even the creative stuff, how we express ourselves, what it means to put ourselves out in the world. And ultimately, what happened is that I was working on issues of diversity, representation, opportunity, and a place called Facebook was looking for somebody to come and do that type of work there.
Right.
And I put up my hand, and I went. And again, I felt that being from where I was from, ironically, put me in a good position. I think you come from these countries that we come from in the region, which people consider small, sometimes they consider inconsequential.
Yeah.
But some of the skills that we learn being on the other side of that equation is how to look out there.
Yep.
We are looking out, and we are learning, and we are taking in, and we are understanding, and we are applying, and we are creating. And so I went from being from a small place to being in a big position at a big company in a big place, but feeling very much able to bring my skills or assets to the problems that we were trying to solve.
I don't want you to go too fast. I want to slow you down a little bit and take one step back to an interesting part you just brought up. And I used to work for someone who's a good friend, as you know. I was the chief of staff to the prime minister. And I think more than anything else, the lesson learned from it is we have the capacity, although we're from a small space, to amplify our voice on matters of social justice in a way I think we don't always fully recognize. You know, from the founding of the Black Panthers to, you know, the independence movements that then translated independence all over the world during the 50s and 60s. We had such a powerful voice to play that for all the way from small places. I want to drill down a little bit more about the social justice work and why did you start there? What inspired you to be involved in that work, and how does that translate to the work that you do every day now?
You know, cognitively, it just never made sense to me that we would exclude people and still think we could be successful at anything. That was like the bottom line. I had an early experience once where I went with my brother who was signing up for a cricket club in Trinidad, and I must have been about 8 years old. And he was signing up, and I went with him, and I said, you know what, sign me up too. And the people looked at me and said, oh, no, girls don't play cricket. Right. And I remember in that moment going, well, that's stupid. Right. Why would you, how you know I could be the best cricket player there was ever going to be? Why would you exclude me?
That's a very Trini attitude, by the way. I just want to put that. just want to put that on the record.
You mean my reaction was very Trini?
100%.
Well, that's my point, is that we learn how to question things, to be analytical, to apply your cognitive sense to it. And it didn't make sense. So exclusion, injustice, unfairness don't make sense to me, and never did. And I could always see where we would collectively be in so much of a better position if we tapped into everyone's potential. And so, yes, it's social justice, but it's economic justice, right? It's just what would be just and right, what would be good for all of us. And so I've always had an inclination to work. When I was a practicing lawyer, I represented lots of unions. And so you're looking at workers' rights. I ran a human rights organization based in Barbados for a couple of years called the Caribbean Human Rights Network. And whether it was issues of prison reform or land rights in Suriname or those of people with disabilities, women, gender, whatever it was, the real thing it comes down to is how we can get the best from everyone by supporting everyone, including everyone, so that we all get to the greatest place, the greatest manifestation of ourselves and collective selves we could get to.
So that then ties to the second part of your opening salvo, really around the idea of you're doing well known in a space, small space, but doing well, good work and doing work that you're proud of. You go to a large space that has its own culture, its own way of operating, but you arrive as yourself,
yes,
to represent yourself and to represent a region and represent a group that is not as well taken care of perhaps in the global space as it should. And so when you arrive in this space, are you daunted? Are you coming with a sense of, what are you coming with? How are you feeling when you first arrive at a very large space doing a very big job?
I'm curious. And that's what I say about, I think that's something we get coming from these places that are left out, because we're curious about the other. Okay, you say that's great, well, what about it is great? And we are learning about them, right? We're learning about the world all the time. So I come with curiosity always. I come with an interest in solving problems. That's where I talk about the cognitive development and the approach, which is analytical. I come with that. Then I also, though, do have a little dose of, can I do this? Yeah. But not because of do I not have the ability to. I've now walked into a very technical space. Yeah. And that is something that I do think we can get back to talking about, where I'm with people,
we will.
Yeah, who are, in those days it was like coding, developing a type of software, talking about things that I just hadn't heard about, right? Just want to be a software engineer, but do you know about data structures and algorithms, processing big data, and the type of, I didn't grow up with that exposure to those types of sciences, to that type of, they talk about makers labs. That was different. And being in a space where I didn't understand the language and the discipline, that was a little challenging. But then you get to realize that, you can't know everything. We have people who could do that. They have other things I can do. And applying my mind to the problems that they were trying to solve with those tools was something that I could uniquely do. My perspectives were unique because of where I'm from, because of what experiences I've had. We all come with unique experiences. And so you kind of then have to come around to recognizing that and reminding yourself that you are bringing something that nobody else has and that it will contribute to the greater good.
A friend of mine, doing well, executive in St. Lucia, tells me this thing all the time. He says high-performing Caribbean executives are the best executives in the world because you operate at a pace of such scarcity that you have to become a high-performing jack of all trades, right? So you have to be able to do a little bit of everything very, very well to succeed at a high-performing level in the Caribbean. And when you go to global organizations, you find yourself being so incredibly well valued and able to go through the ranks very, very quickly and get more responsibility that, people who are pretty siloed about their skill sets are always surprised by the range of things that we can do. Was that your experience?
Yes. And I think, you mentioned something before about the Trini personality. Yep. So there's a way in which we, for better or for worse, and sometimes it's for worse, don't box ourselves into anywhere. We don't really follow rules. We question everything, which creates commerce, but it also creates a mindset of, well, what the hell, I could do that too.
Of course.
And so that confidence when you bring that, helps. There's a way in which you don't fear taking risks or trying something. So I remember the first time I met one of the biggest executives at Facebook who was running the whole business. I went up to her and I introduced myself, and I was 3 weeks at the company. And I introduced myself and I said, hey, I'm here to do XYZ. Listen, you wrote this book. I think it was great, except I think that what you said about this thing wasn't right.
The rocket ship part, or which part you didn't say was right?
There's a whole other part which would be outside of the scope of this conversation. But I said, I don't think you were right about that. I think you should have done this. And she immediately said, and I love this attitude of like, well, help us make it better.
Awesome.
How could we have done better? And I said, you could have done better if you'd done this. And she said, okay. By the time I got back to my desk, there was an email from her saying, come and help me on this other thing. Let's make that better.
Oh, wow.
But the fact that I had the confidence to go up to her and say, here's a way to make this thing better.
Is it okay if I say that hasn't been my government experience so far?
No. It is useful to get us to the best place, to be open to feedback, to invite input. But then remember, I didn't just go up and say, your thing wasn't good.
100%.
I went and said, here's what, I noticed this. I think we could have done this better this way. Here's how I think we could do it. You're coming with a solution too.
Yeah. I want to drill down a little bit, obviously, on the technical part. We have an hour, so we have a little bit of time to think this through. But I really wanted to start from the perspective of something I think of often. And in my previous role, I would help thought processes around this. Is really around, you are a point in time in our history, humanity's history, where our highest value tool of economic activity is available for everyone at the same time, right? So the internet, AI, mobile technologies are available to everyone, whether you're a poor kid somewhere in Tunapuna or Grisettes, or you're a rich kid somewhere in Manhattan, right? So you have this spread of the use of the highest value tool. And there's an opportunity, I think, for the Caribbean, if it's specific outlook on the world, it's out specific problems, it's specific skill sets, to utilize those tools that simply wouldn't be used the same way in New Zealand or Sweden or Bangalore, right? So if we utilize our specific way of expressing, our specific thought processes with the best tools available, what are the amazing outputs that we'll have that become ubiquitous in the world? Do you think about those kind of things in your role? How do you think about encouraging a space to be able to take up the tools to do more with it?
Oh my gosh. I think we live at such so two things. We live in a moment that is a transformative one. Yeah. And we should be conscious of that, how lucky we are. The other thing is that we, as Caribbean people, what you said just now, one should not take for granted. You said we can access X, the internet, AI, these tools, as much as somebody in Manhattan. But everybody can't. We in the Caribbean, maybe, we have a high penetration of electricity, right? Basic.
Yeah.
A lot of people in a lot of places don't.
100%.
So they can't access it. We can. So we have plenty of opportunity here.
Accessibility hitting me on my wrist, no problem.
No, it's true. So we have a lot of opportunity to use the same tools that others have, to which we can apply our interests, our desire, whether it's a business interest you have, an artistic one, to create things with these tools, to reach markets, to reach people, to build communities. There's so much we can do with these tools. And they have been made available essentially at a very low access point in terms of cost, right? Think of other revolutions, where the Industrial Revolution, where they've created new amazing machines that transform agriculture, but everybody can't buy that machine. And everybody doesn't have access to that machine. But now in this revolution, actually, people like us do have equal access, almost. And so we have the opportunity now to do and to build and to create in ways that we just didn't have before.
Yeah, I agree 1,000%. I mean, I have a role where I have to say this, I suppose, but personally I am as well. I'm absolutely bullish around what AI could do for the transformative power of Barbados, the Caribbean, the Global South, really. And with any new technology or tool, there will be downsides of it. There will be people who will be negatively affected. Same with moving from horse buggies to cars. Same thing with the first time we had flight. When they are transformative technologies, they are winners and losers, undoubtedly. and we have to put safeguards in place for the losers to be able to live a healthy and sustainable life in society, 100%. But the ability to move and positively impact people's lives, specifically for the place that we deeply care about, which is, of course, the Caribbean and the Global South, I think is phenomenal, right? So if the equivalence of the steam revolution or electricity revolution come in at the exact same time the rest of the world has it, small places have never had that ability before.
Right.
So how do we fully capitalize on it?
Yeah.
So I want to connect that to the work that you do on a day-to-day basis and utilize that, part of your title, accessibility. You've moved from a place where doing legal work, doing human rights work, driven by the power of your pen and the power of words, to a place now where you're managing hardware and code and software. I didn't wear my glasses for any reason to show off, because I know you got some fancy things to show us just now as well. But tell us that transition to moving into an organization where it thinks much more about digital presence, the actual physical presence, and helping people in the physical world using digital tools.
Yeah, so I had a job before where I focused a lot on people and creating opportunities for people to come into this space, to build, to have as much cognitive diversity as we could possibly have among the builders of the technology, so that the output, what we built, would be relevant, would be useful to diverse populations all over the world. Now that I work on accessibility, I'm very focused on our products. I work a lot with designers and engineers and prototypes and researchers as we try to ensure that the products that we're building are useful and usable by everyone in the world. So to give you an example, think of when you create something on Instagram to get captions created, right? The captions are so that people with certain disabilities, think of somebody who is deaf or hard of hearing. So if you just had your video with people speaking, they wouldn't be able to hear or understand what was going on. But the captions allows them to understand that. So now this product and this output is accessible to them as well. Now, side note, what has been discovered is that something like captions, which you build for certain populations to have access, it turns out, who knew, that people who are not deaf and hard of hearing love having captions. And you see in certain environments that 80% of the people who are looking at consuming certain media are putting on the optional subtitles or captions, even though they don't have the disability. So they are getting value from it
all
too.
the people watching like these South Korean soaps and eating,
No, they're watching things in English.
teasing.
Yeah, but turns out, well, I have theories for why, but 80% of people love having captions. The other thing to note too is that it may be that you are in an environment that's loud and you can't hear, you have the ability to hear, but you can't hear, so that's called a situational disability. Anyway, the point is that as we develop these technologies and try to make them accessible to everyone, we are learning about the value that they bring beyond that community, which is also good for the product. It's a better end result. But yes, now I am deeply embedded with the researchers. We're doing all sorts of things with electromyography, where wristbands that can read a pulse, a muscular intention, can be used to help people navigate computers, people who don't have hands. I mean, it's really amazing. It's high tech, it's high science, it's a new learning path for me as well, which is also exciting.
But so let's go, I mean, the reality is that you're learning, but the company's also learning, right? So you came into a company at the time where it was Facebook, right? One product. The famous thing is, your founder, as this quote in the movie that everyone's seen, talk about, he's just going to drill down and focus on Facebook. He wasn't diversifying to anything else. Eventually, of course, he has, right? You've evolved what you think of it, purchased other platforms which are also ubiquitous in terms of Instagram and WhatsApp, and then obviously it moved on into the physical world as well. So the company has evolved, right?
Very much so.
So not only has your role evolved, the expectations of its executives, incentives, the expectations of the global market has evolved. Talk to me a little bit about that, because I mean, we're from a space that the scale of Facebook is unimaginable for a small Caribbean space, right? The amount of PhDs you have, the revenue lines, the customers you have, the daily considerations, the range of expertise, all the matters that you have to come with, I guess, when you're in your executive bullpen. Tell me a little bit about transitioning from Facebook, the company, to Meta and all the pillars that's under it.
Yeah. So I've been at this company for almost 12 years. And the company is only about 20 years old. And that is counting from a dorm room. So when I joined, we still used to talk about it being a social network. You haven't heard that phrase in years. Yeah. Because we've moved so far beyond that. Yes, with Instagram, with WhatsApp. Then it was a messaging, and we were connecting the world. And now we talk about presence, bringing presence to people. You mentioned these glasses, well, the hardware. One of the pieces I love the most are these Meta Smart glasses.
Show us now. You're talking about it and you're showing us?
They're AI glasses. So, and again, an accessibility story here. One of the first prototypes we saw of these glasses was designed by Meta engineers who were themselves blind or low vision, or had blind or low vision people in their families. And that perspective allowed them to understand that there was something valuable in being able to get information about your surroundings without having to touch it yourself, without needing a sighted person to tell you what was around you, without losing, you know, if you're blind, you might have a cane in one hand, or you might have a guide dog in one hand, and so already one hand you can't use, and you're using the other hand sort of to help you. But what if you could have use of this other hand by getting the information some other way? And it was that perspective that started them hacking to put what would be called optical character resolution and text and all of these things on the glasses as a form factor. So if I put on these glasses now, which we do in conjunction with Ray-Bans, so they're very stylish. The case is a charging case, but I don't know if you can hear with my microphone.
Go for it.
Put it right up here. Hey, Meta. Hey, Meta. What is great about CARIFEST? This microphone is not the best to do this.
Yeah.
Hey, Meta. Oh, no. Meta, can you all hear it talking? No. Oh, sorry. Okay. Not a great demo. If I had a lapel mic, I could put it up there inside and you'd hear. But basically, the AI is talking to me and telling me what's great about CARIFEST. I could ask it now, describe my surroundings, what's in front of me. It would tell me there's people sitting on chairs, they're this, they're da-da-da. I have been out with a group of blind people, and it is the first time in their lives, and they're wearing glasses, that they don't have to ask me as a sighted person at the table what's on the menu, because this is going to read the menu for them. It's going to tell them what currency is in their hand when it's time to pay the bill. You can't feel the difference between a $5 bill and a $10 bill, but these glasses will look at the money in your hand, and the AI will tell you there's a 5 and a 10, how much you need, 20, put this one and that one together. They can go shopping in the supermarket by themselves because the AI will look at the shelves and tell them where the dog food is. They read their mail through this thing. Like literally, people have talked about how it's revolutionized their lives. But as a sighted person, I went recently to Malta, a country I've never been to, and I used these glasses and navigated the whole place. What's this building? Oh, it was a church built in the so-and-so century. Who are the Moors? And it is going, and I am deep in an area that I am interested in, learning, exploring, using this hardware with the software, with the AI. So what we've seen is what it can do for everyone, but with like supercharging what it can do. You mentioned before, there have always been people who've been left out.
Yep.
So people with disabilities have often been left out of a lot. And the idea that people are saying this has made them feel for the first time included and able to live an independent life of value is...
How does that connect to the work that, I mean, the origin of your work really around a lawyer and human rights, and you have things that are driven by the law, your advocacy, and now you're in a space where your advocacy has this physical benefits on an individual basis. Do you tie those things together? Do you see a connectivity? Do you say, well, I wish I had that tool back then? How do you process that?
Yeah, I think of it as a macro and a micro, where, when I was doing human rights work, I felt like on a macro level, you were trying to change the way people thought, the way people treated each other. But when I would represent people in court, then it felt very micro, like, okay, for this person, I'm going to try to make a difference in their lives. But then I didn't see it had a macro impact. Now, in this company, I feel both. Yeah. So I feel like on the macro level, because of the scale, we impact so many people's lives. Exactly. I remember when I first joined, I would get random complaints. Like, people will try to find you, however, right? And if you have half of the world, which it is, 4 billion people are using our products, a lot of people will reach out however they can. So people might write me on LinkedIn and say, oh my gosh, my Facebook page is broken and this is ridiculous and da-da-da. They're screaming, we're going to tell the president, I am driving right there now, I'm going to da-da. And I'd be like, why are they so concerned? It's a free thing. They don't have to use it. Like, they're getting it like if it's basic healthcare. And then I came to realize, actually, it was. Like, this is what people were relying on.
Entire identity is tied to it.
Yes, but also their businesses.
Yes.
In fact, yes, people were getting health information, and this is where the internet and penetration, like people, like if I told you some of the apps that people are building on top of the AI, there's something called Jacaranda Health in Kenya, where they've built an app using our open source AI models that gives pregnant women who live in areas where they cannot get to a doctor, they don't have consistent medical care, but they're getting through this, the updates on what they're supposed to be doing during the course of the pregnancy, when they have a complication, what to do, how to reach, like, it really is actually changing people's lives on an individual level and then at scale. And similarly, you had asked me a question before, which I feel I didn't really explain or answer well about Facebook versus Meta.
You're going good.
And the Facebook versus Meta thing is, yes, going from focusing on one thing, which was connecting all of the people of the world, to this like really distributed, think of Instagram, which began as like art and creativity, people sharing their art. And then, now in the hardware, seeing how literally these individual lives and lives of groups are being changed by this thing that they can hold in their hand, which is giving them presence.
Yeah. I mean, I think of that a lot, right? So I think of like, at some point in time, you create a social media platform, you have a specific intention, it grows, and it goes to a space that you don't fully, the founding team, and it's expanding, it goes to a space you don't expect it to go. Now it's gone to this space where between WhatsApp, Instagram, and Facebook, you've created millions of businesses, right? Tens of millions of global businesses,
thousands,
right?
Yeah.
So all over the world solving all types of things, whether it's daycare to deliveries to medical services. That's unbelievable things, and this responsibility you have as a platform that allows a significant part of the global economy to just to function, right? How does the organization think of that? Does it carry that burden in a very heavy way? So. How do you process that?
Oh my gosh, no, the burden and the responsibility are very, very present. How you process it is ultimately you try to do your best with the information you have. There are so many trade-offs constantly. I talk about the glasses and the value they bring, right? So some people have come to me and said, listen, if it could do X, that would be even better. But X is a thing that would require way more battery power, and it would make the glasses heavier. If we do that, like we can do it with the technology we have, it would help this person's life a lot. But if we did that, less people would probably wear the glasses because they would be heavier and more uncomfortable. And so now you're making a trade-off about what you do. By the way, these glasses, people are saying, are the best assistive device. Assistive devices are devices that are used to help people with disabilities. So a wheelchair is an assistive device. A Braille book is all of these things. This is the cheapest one that exists. Like the next best thing that can read you your surroundings would cost 10 times this price. But the reason we can produce this at 10 times less is because we can sell volume.
Scale.
Right, scale again. I want people to be able to afford these things.
Right.
So I can make you an affordable thing, or I can make you a thing with all of the features you want. It's going to be heavier. It's going to cost more money. They're constantly trade-offs. So the responsibility, yes, you are receiving a lot of, this is what the world wants. This is what this person wants. You know, policy-wise, you're always at challenging intersections. One person wants, I remember early on, content. Content used to be a big, big thing, it still is. But some people want you to allow all of the content, free speech. Other people are like, no, 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 safety and boundaries. You can't have both. I remember once somebody posting a picture. It was a famous picture of, you know, the photo of the young girl who is, it's in World War II, and she is running away from the bomb that's been dropped and all, she's naked. And it's a famous picture, and somebody posted it on Facebook, and somebody reported it for nudity. And yes, she was nude because the napalm had like burnt off all her clothes. And we took it down, and then like a very high official in a northern European country was like, are y'all crazy? How are you taking down nudity and in a historical photo? So the like balancing, because the world is diverse.
100%.
And because we're serving so many people in the world, and our goal is to serve everyone. You're very aware of the responsibility. You know, people are using the tools during times of war to find safety, to find food. And people are using it in times of war to find people, but then also people are using it in times of war to maybe misdirect people. You know, different governments use it different ways. Like, it is a challenging thing that we're very aware of. And in the end, the way we deal with it is trying to be thoughtful, trying to apply a diversity of thought, views, considering different angles to then come up with what we feel is the best thing to do.
So,
but the principles might sometimes be at odds.
Yeah, so I asked a question about responsibility from a kind of corporate business level, and I'll ask you from much more of a personal level. Right? So you are this Caribbean person through and through, in a senior ranking position at one of the world's most powerful companies. What is the sense of responsibility you have as a social justice warrior, as a creative, to bring forward a generation of Caribbean thought, leadership, products, experiences to the global market? Do you carry that? Is that heavy for you? Is that a burden?
It's not a burden. It's a privilege. And that's why I'm doing things like what I'm doing now. That's why I come back to the region. I'm in the Caribbean Film Festival, and I'm doing stuff in education and supporting the arts. And I'm trying to bring as much as I can in terms of the understanding, the exposure. I want people to take advantage of these tools that exist, and learning more about what they can bring, what they can do is the first stage to then being able to take advantage of them. And then on the other side, I bring to them an awareness that we are here, that we exist, that we are meaningful, that we create, and that we matter.
So I want to connect that directly to the framing of the conversation is really about open source futures, and what open source ultimately represents for a small region is the ability to build on top of, right? So your framing, I like around the origin of the glasses. I'm just finishing Henry Ford's book, his autobiography, and obviously he's done a couple of things that we don't love, but there's some incredible insights in terms of this thought process of someone who obviously changed the world. And thinking about from his assembly line process, he says, listen, I hire everybody, right? If you have no feet, no arms, I'll find work for you. And I'm not doing it from charity. I just think ultimately everyone has a specific skill set that they can do at optimal level, and I could pay you for that work, right? So if we think of the Caribbean's contribution, building on top of open source platforms, what was really the thinking about the idea of making it open source? Like, where were you really thinking of that? And then let's get some more specificity. How do we as a Caribbean region benefit from that? What's your thought process around that?
So we are a company who have long stood behind the principle of open source. And should I break down a little bit what we mean by that?
You must.
So you can build software, you can build anything, and you can you can put a gate around who gets to use it. And that gate could be, well, people who pay for it, right? You could license it. And if you pay the licensing fee, then you can use it. You could make it only accessible for people who you choose, right? It's only privately accessible. So Or you could make it accessible to everyone by having it open and essentially free to use. Now, the companies may make different decisions about this. They may be like, but I invested all of the research and development money and time to build this amazing thing. Why would I just give it away for free? Our principle has been, that is where, A, you will get the benefit of allowing people everywhere to create with this tool, these tools, if you make it available to them. We will learn and see things created in this world we could never have imagined by making it available to everyone. We can't assume that we are the only people who know what the best thing is to do with this. And the other thing is that in that creativity, you also get collaboration. Yep. We open source our code. We've done this for a long time. So what we're talking about right now is that with the sort of surge in AI use by consumers, we have something called large language models. These are AI models which can understand natural language and respond and create. So you will hear people talk about generative AI, where you can generate something. You can create something based on your prompt with the AI, right? Design a picture for me now with two people in a tree, and it will create that. That is generating something from your command. These large language models, which are the base of this, and we can talk about multimodal as well, so it can understand language and it can interpret photos, voice, different media, voice, etc. Like, it's really complex. But once you have that model, you can then build something on top of it. So think of it like that being the engine, and then you build a truck, I build in a car, the next person building a helicopter, using this model. It is very expensive to build these models. Very, 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 it is prohibitively expensive, right? Certainly for individuals, but even, you know, for most companies, for most countries, to build these models. We've built some of the biggest, best models, and we have made them open to everyone in the world to use for free. What we then see from that is, as I said, like I've seen all over the world, people, I met somebody recently in Nairobi who was building 3D prostheses for amputees on top of the model. We see people solving agricultural issues that are affecting cassava. We see apps for dyslexia. And people are all over the world using their own culturally specific understanding, needs, interests, and then building on top of that model to produce something that is good for, right for, that serves their needs. So you move away from, well, this foreign company built this thing, to, but I am using it to solve a problem I want to solve that is relevant to me, to my people, etc. And all of that is available to us now. And because it is open source, you don't have to pay. So you get the advantage of that. And it's back to the issue of access. Right? It makes it just far more affordable to build the thing that you want to build.
But you don't have to go far, because I don't normally do this, but I'll do it because we're on stage doing this, that I've been harassing you for the last couple months to help my development team have access to things that we were building for Barbados, right? So we want to leverage the power and the reach of WhatsApp to make things ubiquitous, right? So I have it on my phone, demo right now, actually, I could show some people, is we've created effectively a chatbot that has all the information of Barbados, right? That's available online, that's available on government websites, so laws of Barbados, school codes, driving codes, everything. So I could ask it a simple conversational question, what uniform is, you know, green and has green and yellow in it in Barbados, and it'll tell you, and you'll break down, you'll have a full conversation with it. So we've built that using your open source platform. And a next team, we thought a lot about payments, right? That everyone is living on WhatsApp. What if we could make payments conversational, right? What if I could stay within WhatsApp and I could pay my bills? So we have a demo of that as well, also on my phone. So I'm a living testament to it.
Yep.
Yeah, so we could do some cool. The idea is then your problems are nuanced in a Caribbean space. You have a particular lens. You have a particular approach to a problem you might want to have. You will now have platforms and access to tools in a way that we simply didn't have 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago
That's right.
in the comparative decades of
Yes.
development. How do we fully leverage that? I mean, what are some of the things you say to yourself, I wish I saw from the Caribbean? I know you're a
Yeah.
Caribbean baby. I know you like
Yeah.
Carnival. I know. What are you thinking that, yes, and I
Yeah.
wish I saw this thing come up from?
I wish I saw more understanding of what these tools are, what they can do, and more expertise to even do the part which I keep talking about building on top of. I think I see an underrepresentation in the region of people who have taken the time to understand what is available. And then you go the next step to figure out, okay, well, how do I build and use this? You know, I started off saying I didn't grow up hearing about data structures and algorithms. And I went to very good schools in Trinidad. It wasn't a thing. I know people who did grow up, like, I mean, Mark Zuckerberg began this whole company, you could say, when he was like 14 and he got a computer, or he started using the computer in his father's dental office. And he started like breaking down, okay, how does this thing work? What's going on behind it? What is this code thing, right? And started writing code. It's not that hard.
Right.
You'd need the exposure to it. Now we are in a place, AI, in fact, is making it even easier.
Yeah, you don't write code anymore.
You don't have to write the
You
code.
prompt
The AI
it.
will write the code for you. So what we need is to have the intent and enough understanding. I think we know what our problems are. I don't think we have enough understanding of what tools are available to help us solve them.
Yeah.
So you knew that, oh, there's a functionality here in WhatsApp where the AI is now built in that we could feed it all of our data. This is the on top part, right? Making it personal to you. All of our data for Barbados, and it will be able, using this natural language understanding, etc., to analyze things and produce results which will be helpful to the citizens, to consumers, etc. You knew enough to know that. I don't think enough people in the region have taken the time to understand where we are and what is available. And then the next step of, okay, how do we build on top of it? You do need a little technical skill to build on top of it, right? And we need to have at least that.
Yeah. I mean, I want to go to a couple parts a little bit ticklish, and I'm intrigued by your thoughts on it. I have a lot. I think about it a lot. Is the idea of intellectual property in the age of AI, and what does it mean to? Has that evolved? And I think the natural answer is yes, right? So. I almost think of it, and a friend of mine is in the crowd right now. We talk about this a lot. It's almost like the prompt is now your IP, right? The prompt is the conversion of the concept that you have that spits out the results on the basis of your thought process, right? So the AI is an aggregator of information, but it's not a creative, original thought, right?
Correct.
So how do you then think of, how does you as an individual, and a lawyer, and as the company think about IP in this age of AI?
I think that is still developing because we are learning how people are using AI. Remember, you put it out in the world and you start to see, you know, I saw yesterday a Nigerian artist developing with a Japanese, using the AI to create sort of a new form of their art, which is Japanese influence. Now we have access to everything, right? So you have an idea, you are the prompt. Right? It's your thoughts that are prompting. So this artist was like, I feel like my work with a Japanese bent is really the concept that I'm looking for. And the AI will pull in all of that material and merge it, present it to you. Now you get to respond to that. So you're able to create with like no boundaries. The question is then, okay, now this thing I've created, who does that belong to?
Yeah.
Who owns that? If we start off with a concept which is mine, but we take it in a different place, who owns that end result? I think all of this is stuff that people are still grappling with.
Yeah.
Countries are still grappling with it. I think a lot of the regulatory frameworks are still kind of nascent.
Yeah.
Principally because we're in a revolutionary, transformative moment. And people are still kind of harkening back to what they had.
100%.
Right? What was copyright? What would it mean? Well, it meant a different thing when you couldn't just generate
100%.
new work like that. And now you can. And so it's calling on us as well to respond with a flexibility, with an openness in this moment to then make the roadmap. We need new blueprints for for how we operate. And I think those are still in development.
But even that is opportunity, right? Even that, I think
Yes,
I think
to
about that a
influence.
lot, right? I used to have a design firm, and I thought about like what's the output of my work would be if I had this tool 10 years ago, right? And even then, the ideas were still the ideas. I think of this way. I think of the ideas are really the gold, and the capacity to do the ideas become the expression of the gold, right?
Yeah.
So, and you have tools available to you now that allow you to then translate your thoughts in a way that you simply couldn't before.
Yes.
But the goal is still in the thought, right?
Yes.
So, how do you then monetize that, own that in a world where that is murky? I think we're still figuring that out.
We are.
And I don't think there's any reason why the Caribbean can't take a stake in figuring that out, right?
Absolutely.
So building tools, building machines that ultimately track, hold, monetize, leverage this new moment of intellectual property in a way that the world needs, right? So
Yeah.
I think there's so many levels of opportunity. I'm really, really bullish and excited by the future, quite frankly.
But we have to want to do it, and we have to take the time to do it. You have to do the learning to do it. My friend Van Jones had a quote I love. He always says that we know very well how to download apps, and we don't take the time to learn how to upload them, right? You need to take it. It's not a lot, but like, look, I struggle. I am not a technical person, God knows. I have put myself in this position now, but I'm a person who has a lot of ideas and things I want to talk about, and I love communicating with people, and I'll have an idea, and like how a musician will have a melody playing in their head, and then they'll be like, I had to get this down. And they will talk about how, I put it down on a track.
Right.
And they will have like tracks and demos there for years that they don't do anything with again. Or an artist might get out an easel, and I see a great artist sitting here, Sheena Rose, in the front there, and put something, and then you might come back to that painting for a while, but you had to get an idea. I am like that with ideas, with words, with thoughts, with concepts. And now I'm starting to use this technology. What I didn't like was the technical part, like editing that video, clipping it together, what lighting. Oh, good, I don't want to do that at all. People often say, oh, Maxine, you should do a podcast. I was like, if I could just show up and have the ideas and do the talk, but all the technical stuff, yes. Oh my gosh, I hate it. But in fact, with the AI, with the tools we have now, it's making it so much easier. I use an app called Edits, which is created by Meta, but where, I can talk in front of my phone, and it takes a video of me, and then I upload it into Edits. And in Edits, I can just say, take out the like silent moments, and it'll just do that. And I say, take the light to this. I can voice command. It's like amazing how much easier it is, so that my form of art and creativity becomes so much easier using these tools, which are available and free. And who owns the output of that? Well, in this case, me still, right? But I am collaborating with a technology, with an AI, to help me do that.
Yeah, I mean, so a couple of things. I think there's a rabbit hole that sometimes you go down seeing new apps, and a new AIs, and there are thousands, tens of thousands of millions of them are awesome. And I use a stack of them every single day, right? So I use a couple of your competitors' things. I love the one where I throw a 200-page PDF and it gives me a podcast. Or I think about the ones that allow me to convert my Microsoft Word document into a presentation in seconds, right? So I think people's resistance to AI is exactly how you frame it, that you don't have the education around its functionality, its usage. You control your use of it. You control your input into it, and optimizing it for your life, right? I think really there's going to be a wave of that's happening over the next couple of years. And I have a role where a lot more of the work that I do is around public education of those things, so I'm going to be ramping that up.
Well, personalization is one of the treasured pieces of AI. Is this can be tailored to what you want, but also, and I think this is important coming from the places we come from in the Caribbean, we have been challenged forever by the size of our nations. We've been challenged by the fact that a lot of us, not everybody, so shout out Guyana, for instance, but a lot of us live on islands, little rocks surrounded by water. And our geographic, in some ways, isolation, the size, which is small of our populations, has limited our ability to connect with, to share, even to build our businesses. As an artist here, you would have typically shown your art to whom, right? Just the people in these surroundings, and if some fly in. Now, with the internet, where it can reach, B, with the technology. I have met artists who say using, we didn't even talk about Quest and the metaverse, but using our Quest headsets, which give you this immersive experience of presence, they have built galleries for their art in Quest, in Horizons, that people from all of the world can come into and experience, like you're walking through the gallery, the imagery is right there. And they have been able to sell their art to these people who they could never have reached before.
Absolutely.
With the AI now, to go on top of that, you can find people, no matter where they are in the world, who have an interest in the type of art that you do. So you are no longer limited in your market to the people who are in your physical surroundings. Now you can find the people wherever they are who have that interest, who like that style, who can connect that style with another style.
Absolutely.
But it works for you if you participate in it, of course, right? And participating means you have to understand how the thing works. You have to know how to bring your stuff into the atmosphere, and then how to use the tools to connect with others. But that's when we talk about democratization, when you talk about globalization and personalization, right? You can personalize what is the type of art I like. And I can literally find out that the AI is exquisite in helping you get to just exactly the nuance that you're interested in, and vice versa, you can find the people who are interested in you.
I mean, absolutely. So, I mean, the context under which we are here, obviously, is the Caribbean Arts Festival. So, naturally, a lot of the conversation around AI tended towards the idea of arts. But I mean, it's ubiquitous in every sector, every industry, right? Manufacturing, transportation, housing. That's the range of its usage, and what we optimize as a result of this technology that has been built is just phenomenal.
I mean, health is, of course, we haven't talked about that, humongous. I don't know if you all know, like, you know, you're using the AI to analyze X-rays. I just went and did a mammogram last week, and I was like, are we still doing this in 2025?
Yeah.
Where I have to go in this prehistoric machine and squish up my body, and it's uncomfortable. And I called somebody who is a top AI researcher, and I was like, sorry, are we still going to have to do this in 2026? And he was like, nah. The AI superintelligence, I'm like, they're going to figure out how to do the scanning for cancer with probably not having to use a machine.
Some already have. I mean, we have this partnership. The government of Barbados has this partnership with NVIDIA, which I know is one of your collaborators. And they have a program called Inception, where they track amazing startups all over the world. And the main focus of the Inception program that we have the partnership is with the health division. So we get extraordinary AI health companies coming here and demonstrating things from mammograms to cancer research to, that's the radiography, that's the range of things that you could do. They're doing surgeries in the metaverse to help surgeons practice. Like the things that they're able to do is just phenomenal. So I mean, like, I wish I was born in 10 years' time, right? So the
that would be native.
Yeah. 100%. So
we didn't even talk about education. Oh my gosh, what it's doing for education. I'm very interested, for instance, in how we are losing potential in the region by not addressing learning differences early on. We have a significant number of people who learn differently, who do not learn in the same rote way that we have done forever, and we marginalize them and say, well, they're dunce, or they're bad, or they're problematic, they don't want to learn. And you know what happens at the end of that? If you do not invest now, you prosecute later. You're going to see people, you know, in prison, doing crime. They're not developing cognitively. But we could solve some of that if we addressed, first you have to identify what is the learning difference, and then address it. One of the bottlenecks on doing that is, well, we don't have enough teachers to teach in all the different ways that you would need to teach, because you might be dyslexic, but I might have dysgraphia, or I might be autistic, or this one might have ADHD, like all of the different ways, and then you need to have specialized, you know, individualized learning. Well, with the AI, now we are able at scale to do that. And so learning how to use this tool to solve some of our biggest problems is something which, again, on us, we need to take the time to figure out. But yes, we have classrooms that are using Quest headsets. We have classrooms that are using AI. We have people who are not in classrooms. I know a South African company that developed an app for learning. Millions of people are using it now. And it'll do things like you're dyslexic, but it's going to, the AI again, is going to reformat the language, the text, in such a way that it is more comprehensible to you. You're trying to get to understanding and comprehension and cognitive development, right?
Yep.
However you get in there. And we're able now to personalize the learning,
100%.
to individualize, to, again, we back full circle. We might be also at time to realizing everyone's potential.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the kind of a great space to end on, quite frankly, that in the context of, and we're right across the road from the Ministry of Education, was going through its massive education reform in Barbados at the moment. And the idea of having entrepreneurs, innovators, teachers, whoever, right, who are dabbling with open source tools to be able to solve problems from a micro scale for this kid in their class who's hugely interested in go-kart racing and cricket, and I could give him compositions or math examples specific to his needs and help him get the context to understand the fundamentals. Or I'm going through specifically a case in a hospital in a small space where I don't have the radiologist or all those tools. I can leverage tools available to it. So the accessibility, despite being in a small space of this tool, again, I think is where we share our excitement around. So I really want to kind of let you lead and end on that note of really what are your thoughts on the levels of optimism you have around kind of Caribbean futures with this tool, and what would you like to see, and what would you encourage people to come at you with?
I encourage people to learn more and do more, take advantage of the opportunities we have and the access we have to these tools that could fundamentally improve the quality of our lives individually, nationally, and as a region.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. Thank you.
CARIFEST.